everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today. My name is Alexia, and I am the Project and Event Manager at the Microsoft Reactor Toronto. Before we begin, I'd like to quickly go over two items. First, our code of conduct. Please take a moment to review it. It is on the screen as we speak. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary. Remain professional and on topic. Secondly, our event guidelines. This session is recorded and will be available on demand on our Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. I will share the link for our YouTube channel in the chat a little later. And if you've not been on a live stream through YouTube before, please note that you must create an account on YouTube in order to access and interact in the chat. You can set that up now, and if you're unable to use the chat but have questions, feel free to reach out to us on social media or on Meetup. Which brings us to today's event. I'm going to bring in our speaker here, Veronica. Hi, Veronica. How are you?
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you as well. Very excited for today's session. Please take it away.
Thank you. So, can we switch to my slides, please? Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. We are still living in the virtual world, but I'm really happy to have you joining us today. I'll be talking about a new way of creating smart bots using Bot Composer. It's a relatively new tool. I used to say it's a brand new tool. Now it's been probably a couple of years in use. So some people know about it. Some people just learning that it's available. It doesn't matter if you are a seasoned bot developer, you already use other tools. I just want to understand what Bot Composer can offer you, or if you are a newbie and you are just figuring out your way around bots and just maybe trying to try different tools and figure out what works better for you. Bot Composer is helpful for everyone. And my name is Veronica Kolesnikova, as you can see on the screen, and you saw it before, and that's my Twitter handle. Recently, I'm not that active there, but as soon as I see something interesting regarding machine learning and AI, I'm trying to post there and share with community. If you have questions later or you need any kind of guidance regarding both Composer or machine learning related topics, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter and I'll try to help. So now I want to tell you a couple of facts about me for people who don't know me. Again, my name is Veronica Kolesnikova. I am 3 times Microsoft MVP in AI. That's really cool. I'm super proud of myself. I love being an MVP and also being able to participate in the community, help people out, learn from people because we both learn from each other, and it's awesome. I started my career as a quality assurance engineer and then I moved to development. Now I have more than 7 years of development experience. I stopped counting at some point, just not to age myself. So I'm just putting 7 plus from now on. But I like development. That's something that I've been doing for a while. I used to work with mostly Microsoft technologies like C Sharp, .NET. I love Xamarin. I've tried Maui. It's really good. I like cross-platform solutions. I obviously love machine learning and artificial intelligence. And recently, I also started using Node.js and Java and some AWS tools along with Azure tools. And my hobbies are dancing, traveling, and aerial yoga. So if you have any questions about my hobbies, please feel free to ask them later after the session. But if you have questions regarding the content of the session, please put them in the chat, and then either I can see them, or if I don't see them for some reason, then Alexia can pass them to me, and then I will be able to discuss those questions. So now let's move to the content itself. What is a bot? It's a good question. We all kind of have that um, maybe definition in mind and our own understanding of a bot. For some, bot is just a chat bot that you have that pop-up screen, which can be really annoying on the website. For others, it is something more complex that can actually hear you, understand you, and there are lots of different definitions of a bot. um, but overall, bot is a software, a piece of software or a tool that can actually understand users' commands. And based on that understanding, it can perform some actions or provide some kind of answers. And it doesn't matter if it's written text, if you communicating through text or you are communicating through speech. There are lots of different approaches. There are three main options how you can communicate, but you can always mix and match. So I already mentioned the text, the speech, and then the third is by uploading images, and then bot can potentially perform optical character recognition and then translate your pictures into information, text information, and then reply based on your request. So I know it might be a little controversial for some people if bot is the same as virtual assistant. I had lots of discussions with my colleagues about it. I personally think that bot is the same as a virtual assistant because in the core of every virtual assistant there is a bot, and bot is based on machine learning models. So it's a layered structure. The virtual assistant can be used anywhere. Um, Here you can see two examples of virtual assistants, Siri and Cortana. There's also Alexa, which can be used on special devices like Echo Dot for Alexa, for example, or you can use them on mobile devices. If you have an iPhone, not probably, but 100%, I'm 100% sure you have Siri there, unless you turn it off. And yeah, so that's why I think that the virtual assistant is the same as a bot, but it can be a little more advanced. It's like an advanced bot or a bot connected to specific channels. Um, here, I already mentioned Siri and Cortana. Also, Microsoft's Clippy is a bot. We all like Clippy. Clip is our friend forever. Then AOL Instant Messenger Smarter Child. I've never seen it myself, but I know it was popular at some point. And I also wanted to tell you about Tay. Uh, it's a just good learning example how actually Microsoft created that bot and just released it on Twitter a couple of years ago, and just let it learn from all the tweets live. The bot unfortunately became really racist, sexist, started posting horrible things on Twitter, and Microsoft had to delete it very quickly. But it was a great learning experience, both for Microsoft and for all of us machine learning developers and people who use machine learning techniques. You Machine learning is not a magic box that you can just throw data at and then it will learn and create something beautiful and helpful. That's not the case. So when you are building your machine learning models, whether they are for a bot or maybe for some other tools, make sure that your data is accurate, it's filtered, and it's prepared for machine learning model. It's very important. So don't just let your bot or any kind of machine learning model learn from, especially from Twitter, because there are lots of different inappropriate stuff there, as in any kind of social media. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about creating bots. There is so many different tools. All major technical companies like Microsoft and Amazon, Google, obviously, they all have their own tools for creating all kinds of bots. Bots are super popular. They're used everywhere. It is getting easier and easier to create them, and also implement them, connect them to different channels. I already mentioned mobile devices, special devices for virtual assistants. So there are lots of different options, but here I want to specifically talk about Microsoft offerings. And the first one is Bot Framework SDK. The Bot Framework SDK is the core of every Microsoft bot or bot that you are building with Microsoft technologies. If you are um, a hands-on developer, you want to build everything from scratch yourself, then you can just get the SDK and open your Visual Studio, get a SDK, and just start writing code. And you can deploy it anywhere you want to any kind of cloud. It doesn't have to be Azure. It can be on premises. It can be anywhere you want. But the SDK, this bot framework SDK, is in the core. It's also in the core of other options that I'm going to mention next. So behind the scene, they have that bot framework SDK, which you can use separately or inside other offerings. Okay, next one. Next one is Azure Bot or Azure Web App Bot. It used to be Azure Web App Bot up until sometime last year. The Azure Web App Bot got deprecated from the Azure portal. So when you go to Azure portal, now you can create Azure Bot, which is if you worked with Azure Web App Bot before, Azure Bot is really similar. It has a little more options, easier to use. It's just upgraded Azure Web App Bot, and also Azure Bot can be automatically opened in the Bot Composer. It's really convenient to connect, but um, you can create your bot first in the Composer and then deploy it to Azure, and it will create Azure Bot resource. Or you can start with going to the portal, create an Azure Bot resource, and then actually working with it using the Bot Composer. So really convenient. You can also connect your Azure bot to different channels. Now, so inside that resource, you have that option to connect to different channels. On the left, you see some of the channels available. So it can be connected to Teams and Slack, send emails, connect to Twilio. You can also connect it to Alexa. So it will be a new Alexa skill. So it's really easy to just connect it there. But if you are building bot um, not using Azure bot resource, but you still want to connect it to different channels, then there's an option to use Azure bot channels registration resource. Last time I checked, it was still there, but not a lot of people. I believe personally that not a lot of people using it separately because it's just so convenient to create Azure bot resource where you can manage everything, where you can actually control the logs. You can, and it's again, it's very important to control the logs and see how effective your bot, because if it's not answering correctly or it misses questions a lot, then you probably need to go back and retrain your model or change. So usually when you build in a bot from scratch, you are kind of guessing what how your users are going to use it. But then when they start using it, they might prefer different scenarios. So machine learning, all machine learning models, and also bots, they constantly need to be monitored and updated, just to keep it convenient and up to date. So it's still useful for your users. Okay, so I talked about the registration. Next, Azure Health Bot. Um, that is really convenient. I'm gonna call it a template because it already contains a lot of stuff that you might need if you are building specific health related bot, like a bot for a healthcare provider, maybe for a medical school. It is already HIPAA compliant. It also has some pre-built um, understanding of some medical terms and um, some diagnosis, but it is not just a magic bullet that you can download and then just forward it to your clients. It is just a baseline where you can build on top of it. Connect it to different channels again, so your health bot can direct, for example, it can direct your users to a specific doctor, recognize symptoms, and understand what kind of medical help that person needs. And there are lots of different scenarios, but if you are building health specific bot, then it's a good start to use Azure Health Bot. Next one here is Power Virtual Agent. So Power Virtual Agent is part of that Power Platform that we all know about and love. It is a low code, no code approach as pretty much everything else in Power Platform. Now, if, for example, if you have a mixed team where you have developers and non-developers, and you are building either one bot or maybe several bots that are connected to each other, then part of the team without coding experience or just um, maybe they don't want to write code for some reason, maybe they don't have time. There might be lots of reasons why people want to use low code, no code solutions, and nothing's wrong with it, obviously, because we don't have to write code all the time, especially when we have really effective tools to use. So maybe part of the team can use Power Virtual Agent, drag and drop some widgets, create a bot, create all the dialogues. It's really convenient to use it. And then another maybe part of the team can use maybe a bot composer and create a second part of the bot or a separate bot, and later on they can connect them together. And actually, it's really cool. You can create the whole um, network of bots that are interconnected. It is awesome. I think it's a good option if you are building lots of bots for maybe a big organization that they all need to be connected. And so with Power Virtual Agent, you can use Power BI. Oh, sorry, Power Platform. You can connect to other Power Platform resources. You can also connect to some external resources. So everything you might want in your bot is available in Power Virtual Agent. Again, it's really easy to use. And the last one here is Bot Composer. I already mentioned it so many times. You are probably Googling it right now or using Bing from Microsoft to figure out what the Bot Composer is and how you can download it. Um, Definitely go ahead and check it out. Bot Composer is basically an IDE for bot developers. You have everything inside the composer. You can connect to cognitive services like Lewis and Q&A Maker, and Lewis is Language Understanding Intelligence Service. Those cognitive services, they are pretty much specific to bots. Obviously, you can use them in other solutions. But yeah, you can connect to those cognitive services. You can visually see how you structure your dialogues. You can test right there inside the tool. And also they have like a NuGet style library connection. So if you created a different bot, you can export it and connect to your bot inside Bot Composer, or you have specific libraries. You can also connect them there. It's really convenient, and I have a demo planned where I'm just gonna walk you through the tool, and we'll see how it all works and how it's all connecting and how you can start using the Bot Composer for your solutions. And I really like that diagram right here. I got it from Microsoft's official documentation. And I love Microsoft documentation. I keep repeating it to people how awesome the documentation is. I compare it to documentation from other tools and other companies. And Microsoft documentation is great. They have good examples. They have good visuals. They have all the links that you need. Also links to GitHub, where you can see how the bot composer, for example, was built, what's inside there, how it works behind the scene. So it's really convenient. Also, you can download different tools, and they have labs. So they have labs on GitHub. They have kind of step-by-step instructions inside the documentation. So it's really good. Going back to that diagram over here, you can see that in the core, we have the bot framework SDK. Um, so you are creating your virtual assistant or a bot using the SDK, even if you are not directly interacting with SDK. For example, if you're using the composer, then behind the scene, you still have that bot framework SDK. It can be connected to different cognitive services and also applied AI services. Actually, the bot is an applied AI service, so you can check the documentation regarding applied AI services. So you can connect to speech, you can connect to Q&A maker, language understanding, vision, all kinds of services. They don't have to be Microsoft services, because those are just REST APIs that you can replace with other tools if you want to. But it is really convenient um, when you have your cognitive services connected with your bot, because you kind of have them all in one place. You can store them in one resource group in Azure. Also, it's really convenient to deploy for if you use an bot composer. It's really easy to deploy all the resources that you need right away, right from your composer. So going to the input, in the beginning of that session, I actually mentioned that there are several ways to communicate with the bot. It can recognize speech, it can recognize text, it can figure out the intent, that meaning what your user actually wants, and then maybe display some adaptive cards. So there are lots of ways to interact with a virtual assistant or a bot. And here I have that in the middle, I have Azure Bot Service. So that is that Azure Bot resource that you can create yourself or through the composer. Also, you can connect your virtual assistant or bot to different devices. When you are thinking about developing a bot, you have in those design sessions, it is really useful to understand how your future users will be interacting with it, what devices they might want to use. Because if you are only focusing on maybe text input, and then you start connecting it to speech devices like and Echo Dot or any Echo device that you have or your users have, then the speech can't be automatically converted to text. You need to actually make sure that your bot is understanding speech and it's understanding text if um, those are types of inputs and devices that your users are going to use. But there are so many different options. We have bots everywhere on mobile phones, on devices, special devices. I have that a car here as an example. So inside the car, you also have an assistant. So you can connect to different devices. Just be mindful about how your user can interact. So it's easy and straightforward for user to interact with your bot through their device. And going back up to channels, I already mentioned that it's easy to connect your Azure Bot resource to different channels like Teams, Twilio, Cortana. Yeah, they're just it's a huge list of different channels. So when you go to the Azure portal and you try to create the Azure Bot resource, you'll see how many channels are available there. Yeah, try them all, figure out what's the best for you. And it's really fun, when you start working with bots, it's fun to explore different channels and different inputs and see how they are helping your users to get better help or maybe perform some actions. And then on the right, we can connect our virtual assistant to different knowledge bases, like general knowledge, different data sources, different manuals, and you can also connect to different skills. So your bot can send emails, it can perform some tasks, maybe it can tell your user about points of interest. connect to other bots, and then it can also connect to third-party assistants. Maybe you have a call center, so you need to figure out when is the right time for your bot to pass your users' request to real people. If you have that option to pass it to a call center, it's always a good option, but I know it's tricky to have a call center with real people. So it's not an option for everyone, but if you have that option, it's good to have. And also, you can see that you can connect to different APIs. You can connect to Office Graph, to Active Directory. You have just endless capabilities there. You can connect to different resources, whatever you prefer. So it's exciting to see that whole world of bots and virtual assistants, how they can interact with each other, how they can interact with users, what tasks they can perform. It's really cool. I really enjoy it. Okay, so now I want to talk more about Bot Composer specifically. It is awesome, as you probably already guessed, because I already mentioned it so many times in different contexts. Bot Composer is great. It has everything that you need. You can create a new bot using a template. Um, there are different templates available. You can also write your custom template and then reuse it later. But you can create empty bot, you can create bot automatically connected to Lewis and Q&A Maker. They also have special templates that are more virtual assistant focused. So when I actually show you the demo and show you the tool, you'll see all the templates that are available there by default. Next, you can add natural language understanding capabilities using Lewis, Q&A, or any other tools that you prefer for language understanding. It's easy to connect to Lewis and Q&A Maker right inside the composer. And when you are creating a new bot that uses Lewis, it actually automatically sends you like a reminder or a warning that you need to connect to a Lewis resource. It's really convenient. And next one, here you can author text and, if needed, speech variation responses for your bot using language generation templates. So yeah, that is pretty straightforward. It's convenient to have variations. For example, if your user comes back and asks the same question, and then he or she can actually um, hear answer, but in a different way. So it's not like so um, robot-like. It's more human-like when you can hear different variations. For example, they say hi, and then your bot can respond hello or welcome or hi. You know, different responses, different times, and it's keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting for users. So that's really cool. Next, you can author bots in multiple languages. So Bot Composer supports a lot of languages. It is cool when you are building bots that are focused on international users. So it's cool to switch between languages, and it's really good that it supports it. So it's not only in English. Um, Next, you can test directly inside the composer using embedded web chat. So You don't have to leave that bot composer IDE in order to test it, but you can leave if you want to, and use the emulator. If you developed your bots before the bot composer became available, then you probably use the emulator, and you have it on your machine, and you can continue using it, have all the logs there. So whatever you prefer, there are options available for everyone. And then you can publish bots to Azure App Service and Azure Functions. It's really easy. You're just setting up connection with your Azure subscription, and then you are just clicking a button and deploying. But it depends on your deployment strategy. Maybe you have different environments, so you can create different profiles for deployment and then deploy to an environment of your choice, maybe to lower environment first and then going up to production. So yeah, you don't need to leave the composer in order to publish your bot, or any cognitive services that you use, like Lewis and Q&A Maker. And then you can extend Power Virtual Agents with Composer. So that feature was on preview for quite some time. I think I checked it yesterday and I didn't see that preview mark. So I guess it's GA now. So you can create a Power Virtual Agent using the tools, the Power Platform, and then you can just export it and continue improving it, working with it inside the composer, which is super cool. You can also export the bot and then keep it as a whole bot and then connect to your bot that you are developing inside the composer. And the last one here, you can integrate external services such as Q&A Maker, Knowledge Base, and so on and so forth. Connect, if you remember the diagram that I showed, you can connect to different APIs. You can connect to different skills. I can send emails. It can schedule your meetings or whatever you prefer. So it's just endless there. Okay, I've been talking for a while and I haven't showed you that tool yet. So now let's move to the composer itself. Let me actually exit from here. And I hope you can still see my screen with the composer. So that's the bot framework composer. I just got a new version a couple of days ago. You can see 2 days ago. I tried it here because I got a new laptop. So I don't have a lot of stuff here yet. But I'm installing things one by one and trying making sure they're still working. So that one is working here. You can just find it online, type bot framework composer. You'll get the documentation, you'll get the links to download it. And then once you download it, you have lots of opportunities to learn more about the tool. You have links to documentation, GitHub with samples and labs, and so many options to actually try it and check it out how it works. Here's a link to bot framework emulator that I mentioned. That's for testing. You don't have to set it up. If you don't want to, you can test everything inside the composer, or if you prefer emulator, you can also use emulator. And the link to Stack Overflow, you can read the announcements here. So really convenient. Um, some videos and tutorials. That's always good when you just downloading your new tool and you're like, okay, I got the tool, but there are so many different buttons. I don't know where to start. So Here, it's easy to start with links to documentation, links to tutorials, links to videos. I really enjoy it. So let's go ahead and create a new bot. So here you can see all the templates that are available. You can also submit a request here if you want a specific template. It's easy to just click on that link and get connected with the right people who are building templates. You can also build your own templates later on. So empty bot, you can read about each template right here to figure out which one is working better for you. A core bot with language is language understanding intelligence service. It actually has some default capabilities already included, so you don't have to build your bot from scratch if you don't want to. And then with one with the Q&A maker, um, also really easy to see that you have two required resources. So be prepared to connect to your Azure and create those resources there. So you can kind of understand what resources will be created later and kind of at least think about the pricing, um, calculate the pricing, but you know, you know what to do with the resources and you know that they're not free on Azure. Then Core Assistant Bot, Enterprise Assistant Bots, they have some pre-built capabilities. So you don't have, if you are building Enterprise People Bot, for example, something related to that, then you have more pre-built dialogues and functionality. So all the basic stuff will be out of your way, so you don't have to like build welcome dialogues from scratch or build some chit chat dialogues from scratch. They already gonna be there. So it's easier to start and just move forward with that. Okay, so I'm gonna create a core bot with language. So you can see how it works. Just click. The required resource is Louis and also Azure Cosmos DB. So I'm gonna create this one. You can choose your location. You can use runtime type here. As I mentioned before, Azure Web App is an option. Also Azure Functions if you prefer. I prefer Azure Web App, but doesn't really matter. You can choose whatever runtime you prefer. I'm just gonna leave it as Azure Web App. You can select where you want to create it. And another important thing that your composer is not only your future bot is not only available inside the composer, but when you are creating your new bot using the composer, it also creates all the code that you need. So even if for some reason you don't want to use the composer anymore and you just want to um, get your hands dirty and go and write code and update it right inside your Visual Studio. I know different people have different preferences, or maybe if you used to write code and it's just easy for you, maybe something is not available inside the composer, you always have that option to just have your code open Visual Studio and just update it inside there instead of the composer. So I'm gonna go ahead and create it. It takes some time to do it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I don't see anything right now. Yeah, it takes some time to create because it sets up the code. It sets up the standard dialogues that are just pre-built there, um, updating the packages. So the tricky part that I figured out just 2 days ago, I had only the latest um, .NET installed on my machine, and I think it was preview of 6. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but it was the latest one that is stable. And then when I created a bot here and I couldn't run it, I couldn't figure out for a couple of minutes what was wrong. Although when you start your bot, it actually shows you the logs so you can better understand what's happening there. So I had to install .NET Core 3.1. Um, so yeah, be mindful about that. You can always update the .NET version, but I'm not sure how well it's working with the composer. But by default, it's just using .NET Core 3.1. Um, okay, so that's what I mentioned before. Um, when you're creating your bot, you have a warning here. You have the whole list of things that you need before you can get started, and one is required is setup language understanding, since we used a template that has Lewis there by default. So, and also you have a bunch of recommended steps that you might want to do, but they're not required, like review a template README, create publishing profile. Publishing profile, you can create it anytime, um, or yeah, you can create several of those and pick and choose which one you want to use. Edit bar responses. Inputs and triggers. Yeah, all those are important. And when you start developing a bot, you obviously will add your new responses, new dialogues there. Because this bot is, as you can see, is pretty minimal, but it's a good starting point there. So let's set up language understanding. There are a couple of options here. You can use existing resource, you can create and configure new Azure resource, um, or you can generate instructions for Azure administrator. So it depends on what is the right process for your company. If you have a specific Azure administrator who creates resources, or you have access to Azure portal yourself, I am gonna create and configure new Azure resources. I can see a couple of questions in the chat. Let me actually um, create Lewis first, and then I'll get back to your questions. So you are connecting to your Azure subscription from here. I have 2 subscriptions. I can choose this one. And then I can select resource group or create a new right from here. So I already have Reactor Toronto. And there's a limitation here. You can only select those 3 regions. So not ideal, but it's not the worst. I think West US is working fine for me. And then the resource name. So that's just for language understanding. So it's gonna be Reactor language understanding. but you can call it whatever you want. Okay, so it got created. You have the authoring key here. Don't worry, I'm gonna delete it after, so don't try to steal the key from me. But if we go back to here, our portal, let me actually refresh the page. I already tried it once. So here I have a new resource. It's an authoring resource. When you click here, you can see all the information. It's active and read more about language understanding. You can also go to Lewis.ai portal and tweak it here as well if you want to. I'm gonna go back to the chat and check the questions because I promised. And the first question, if you already have the Azure bot provisioned, can you still use bot composer templates with it? Yes, I believe you can. There are two ways of creating your bot. You either go and start it inside the Azure portal first, and then actually I don't have an example here of the right resource, but when, and I don't want to spend more time on it because I know that we have limited time here. But yeah, you can create a resource, Azure bot resource here, and then you'll have that button open in the composer. So if it's a clean resource, you didn't do anything with it, you just created it, you can, in the composer, you can actually set it up correctly there. So check it out, try it. I haven't tried it recently, so maybe something changed, but that's what I did. I used to do before. Um, okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay. Next question is, do you know of any hands-on workshops for creating bots with Bot Composer? Yes, I actually recorded a mini workshop. It was probably an hour and a half long altogether for a festive tech calendar. It was initiative from our European friends. So if you can find online festive tech calendar, I think you can still access those sessions and workshops if you want to see my workshop. If you don't want to see my workshop, no offense, that's totally fine. You can find good documentation online. You can also use Learn modules, Microsoft Learn modules. They have really good like workshop style slash learning opportunities there. I think they have at least a couple of good ones related to the composer itself. Okay. Yeah, thanks for sharing the link. Here's the link if you want to copy it and use it. I know I have only 6 minutes left, so I'm gonna wrap it up really quickly. So here we connected to Lewis. Then we can also connect to Q&A Maker. Here you can see pre-built. I need that. You can see the pre-built dialogues. You have just 3 of them available: welcome dialogue, cancel dialogue, and help dialogue. If we go to welcome dialogue here, you see how all set up. So when you build your new dialogues, you already have an example of how it looks, how you can connect different um, responses, how you can set up the structure. And it's really cool that visually you can see the dialogue flow, because sometimes it's really hard to imagine what goes after what is the what's the choice there, where your user can go next, what will be the next step for them. And here it's really convenient to actually see it visually, and also you can edit them. You have different kinds of responses. You can also add speech responses. You can add different cards that you can interact with. So you don't need to leave the composer to actually add different different things like speech and text, and um, seeing the dialogues is also cool. And also you have that option to show code here, or you can if, I hope you remember when we created the bot, I pointed to the folder where I want it to be created. And when you open that solution, there you can see all the dialogues. You can see all the code that you need, and you can edit it there, or you can edit it here. It depends on what you prefer, but all the changes that you make here will appear in your code, and all the code changes that you are making will also appear in the composer. So it's really cool. I want to go really quickly through the um, menu here. You have all user inputs right here, so all in one place. It's really convenient to see. And also bot responses, all here. You see that here's the activity. That's also an option. Can Those are just texts, and you can always set new templates here. You can connect to new knowledge base if you want to. Forums are still in preview, so I'm not going to talk about those. And here you can create your publishing profiles in order to actually publish your bot. Um, so I don't have any publish targets right now, but it's easy to create, and then it will deploy everything at once. And here is the package manager, kind of NuGet style. You can see what has been installed. You can select different options here where you want to get those packages from. Um, if you have your own packages, you can use them too. So really convenient. And then I want to go back here, and here you can start your bot for testing right inside the tool. I'm gonna click on starting. I hope it starts. But yeah, again, there are two options: either test it right from here, or start it here and then open it in the emulator if you prefer the emulator. And okay. Okay, it is running right now, so you have option to open in web chat or test in emulator. You can just keep it running and make the changes, or you can stop it, make changes, and then restart it if you want to. So really convenient. I know we have only 1 minute left. If I'm trying to check if we have more questions. I don't see them right now. Um, yeah, so thank you so much. I know I provided lots of information really quickly. Again, there are lots of documentation available, video workshops. You have Microsoft Learn modules. So definitely check it out. If you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. Find me online, find me through Reactor. Um, I want to thank Reactor Toronto for hosting my session today. I really appreciate your support.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for this session. This was absolutely awesome. I am just going to jump in here real quick before we say our goodbyes. Yeah, I don't think there is any more question. I think everything else was very clear. Yeah, I shared a link for our survey if you'd like to share your experience. Look, there's more comments coming up here. Yeah, if you'd like to share your experience, the link for our survey is in the chat, as well as the event code on the screen also. You can join our community on Meetup and have more information about future events. As you know, this session is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, which is on the screen. We're also on social media, so feel free to interact with us, ask your questions, and follow us there. And yeah, well, Veronica, thank you again so much for coming again with the reactor. This was great having you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great one.